everybody, and welcome back to City Chats with Joyce. I am Joyce Dooley, the Director of Research and Innovation for Z Prime. Joining us today is a super awesome guest who I'll get to in just a second. You can see that he's on the call already, which is fabulous. But we're going to be talking about how it's all in the details and cover San Antonio's Smart City Roadmap that they just launched. The city of San Antonio has been diligently working on their smart city strategy for over a year, from internal to community stakeholder collaborations to the creation of a problem bank to now a complete roadmap. The city is well positioned to execute on meaningful, citizen-driven smart city projects. So with that, we have Geoffrey Urbach, the Smart City Senior Manager for the city of San Antonio, and we're going to cover all kinds of wonderful things today. Geoffrey, how are you doing?
Doing great, Joyce. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, anytime. So before we get too much into the details, I really want to know what makes you so passionate about smart cities and the work that you do.
Sure. I think first and foremost, what energizes me every day about the smart cities movement is its potential to really transform our communities. Given the issues that we have with natural disasters, gun violence, political polarization in particular, the concept of the smart city is what gives me hope. We have a real opportunity to define a new operating model for local government to address these complex challenges today, but also to take advantage of future opportunities. My career has spanned all over the place, local, state, federal, but local governments is really the place that, in my mind, holds immense potential for positive change. There's no other form of government more directly responsive to its constituents. It's within our cities that new ideas form. It's where policies implemented. It's where results are seen and impacts are measured. So to be in the seventh largest city and one of the fastest growing cities in the country and have an opportunity to shape something from the ground up, like our roadmap and our direction, there's really no better place that I can imagine myself being in right now. And it's just an incredible community to be a part of.
Thank you so much for that. And I think you've touched on some immediacy of why these things are so important to getting us moving forward, not just as a community, but as a nation. We have so many wonderful people like yourself working on these kinds of projects with that same kind of passion and heart. And I think, it definitely shows in the work that is being done. Speaking of, the Smart City Roadmap is a marathon of a job. Z Prime actually had a little bit of help in the process of this. So it's been kind of cool to help elevate what's going on and get you in touch with your stakeholders and stuff. But, I really want to hear from you, what it took to get it to this point. I know there was a lot of collaborating with internal and community partners and stakeholders. So can you walk us through what that looked like?
It's incredibly unique, the opportunity that we had to build out this roadmap. I don't think a lot of other cities have the leadership that we have in San Antonio that would allow us the time and the space to meaningfully engage with our stakeholders in the way that we did. To what you mentioned, Joyce, it was nearly a year of stakeholder engagement. We did not hire an outside consultant to write this thing for us or tell us how we should approach it. We started about how do we define the path of what a people-centered approach for San Antonio is and what that looks like. And we did that through a lot of that stakeholder engagement. So starting with our city departments, we put out an employee survey, received nearly 500 responses across every single one of our over 40 departments. We met with senior leadership at each of nearly every department to understand what are your biggest needs, what type of emerging technology have you tried to pursue that maybe you haven't been able to implement that you'd like to test, what has not worked out for you, and what is your vision for your department. We also met with employees up and down the organizational structure. So we launched a few cross-departmental events that brought together, over 500 city employees to share ideas about their future, how they can drive impact, what projects in the smart city space are exciting for them. And along the side, we built out a project bank, gathering all of these ideas, not just from our team, but from our city employees. And through the city employee and city department engagement, it helped form one of our key guardrails, which is what are the areas that we can drive the biggest organizational impact? We're only a team of 4 on the Smart Cities team. We sit within the larger Office of Innovation. So we're small but mighty. I think we operate very much as a startup within local government. And I think that offers a lot of opportunity for where we can go. But in terms of those takeaways, so as we can drive the biggest impact in business operations of the organization through data to make more data-informed decisions as our departments and collectively as an organization. And the third area is around resident engagement. The other piece of the stakeholder engagement that we pursued was our resident engagement, which is critical and is our North Star for guiding how we define what a smart city is for San Antonio and what areas and topic areas that we were going to pursue to try to solve for. And so we put out a resident survey and got a lot of feedback from our residents about what they thought a smart city is and what the biggest challenges that they are facing are and the biggest opportunities related to emerging tech. We also were a part of over 20 events in the community to follow up on that, real quantitative data that we were able to get from the survey with qualitative data of, well, what do you mean by, we need safe infrastructure? Well, what I'm talking about at a personal level is, I find it difficult to navigate on the sidewalk and there's not enough time to get to the other side of the street. It impacts my quality of life. And so that type of qualitative information matched with the quantitative information really helped form, again, how are we going to prioritize the types of projects that we move forward with? And so, through the resident engagement work, we came to 5 key challenge areas, which is access to public information, access to transportation, resilience and environmental quality, public safety, and safe infrastructure. And so those 2 pieces really form the foundation of the ways in which we work and where we work.
Man, that is so cool. And I think by now, the people who follow the City Chats with Joy series knows for a fact that my heart is in San Antonio and always has been. So I'm incredibly proud of what y'all have been able to put together and the mindset that you've had from the beginning of this effort. So, San Antonio approaches smart cities with an intensity of collaboration that goes just beyond what the Office of Innovation is doing. And it all tries to keep the citizen top of mind. There were a couple of projects leading into the Smart City Roadmap that I think are very relevant and would love to hear you speak on a little bit. So can you kind of touch on the data sharing agreement with the Smart SA partners and the digital bill of rights your team has created to kind of build towards the now?
Absolutely. Yeah, Joyce. So, we couldn't be in the position we are currently with the release of this roadmap if it wasn't for the foundation that was built by Brian Dillard and his predecessors before him at the head of the Office of Innovation with Emily Royal, who leads our team, and with the work that's been done by the city, not only to connect folks throughout the city, make sure they have access to the internet and those digital tools, to understand what our city organization needs, but also to build, to your point, these strategic partnerships that can help advance us as a community, not just us leading an initiative, but how can we really get those who are shaping our community and helping the lives of San Antonio residents on a daily basis. So one of those key organizations is the Smart SA Partnership, which includes 9 leading local entities. It's our energy utility, our transit agency, our water authority, et cetera. And they're bound together by an interlocal data sharing agreement. City Council passed this agreement back in 2019. It took 3 years of development to get this signed. It allows for the sharing of data between those 9 entities to make more informed decisions, to operate more collaboratively. It's truly an extraordinary accomplishment, and it's rare for a city to have such a structure in place. Unfortunately, COVID hit shortly thereafter the signing of this interlocal data sharing agreement. So every organization was, just trying to operate and be able to turn the lights on and serve the immediate needs of their customers. But now we're in a position where we are meeting on a monthly basis. We have 6 projects that we're starting to move forward with as an organization, and we're all focused on leveraging that interlocal data sharing agreement to drive real change collectively within the city. So we're really excited about the progress with Smart SA. As it relates to digital bill of rights, I think you might also be referring to the principles of data-informed government. And that pertains to the data, computer systems, and technology that we administer. It's an effort at transparency and sharing our values with the public about how the city as an organization is prioritizing safety, privacy, quality, and security. We also have a data governance policy in place internally to formalize how departments are handling, maintaining, and sharing data. This is really a model policy. Again, it's unique that we do have a data governance policy in place for the city of San Antonio. We've actually started to host regular meetings on data governance with outside organizations. We've had other cities from across the country reach out to us to want to be a part of this group that includes our Chief Data Officer, Najee Tabit. And it's really exciting to have a leadership role in this space. Now, we still have a long ways to go. We are by no means where we should be related to data, but we are on the path, and that's exciting.
I get so jazzed talking to you. And I'm just so proud and excited for the city of San Antonio and its residents and all of the partners involved who I've, over the years got to collaborate with, outside of the Office of Innovation. And this is just such an exciting time. And so thank you for giving a little bit of that back context. So all of these efforts really support the roadmap that you just launched. So let's talk more about how your team is going to take this strategy and put it into action.
So this has been, my focus since I've been here a little over a year ago. It's why I was so excited to join our team. Our motto as an office is GSD, for those that are unsure of what that means. I don't know, Joyce, is it okay if I share it?
It's, share it.
Get shit done. And that's what our focus has been. The plan's not about buzzwords. It's not about flashy projects. Again, it's driven from our community here in San Antonio and what's going to help most solve for their needs and impact our work as an organization within the city. And so, one of the biggest accomplishments to date is the formation of our governance process that we worked out in tandem with the IT department. We knew from the beginning that, this is no fault of our IT department in any way, but there's a whole host of priorities. And you can imagine across 40 plus departments, there's an incredible amount of tech needs. And the needs that rise to the top are those that are what is most immediate, how is it impacting the organization today? And it's not always what can we test out that might be beneficial down the road or even today. Those often fall down the priority list. And so, we were very thoughtful about, well, what could we do to carve out a process that accelerates the deployment of emerging technology, offers a place for departments to test out these new concepts, and to build the type of trust between the new technology being able to, for example, touch our network or be installed on our infrastructure. And if we can prove that out safely on a small scale project that's not a significant investment that is going to be, scaled throughout the organization enterprise-wide, and we can prove that out on a small scale, then we can help to speed up that scalability down the road. And so, working really closely with Craig Hopkins, who is our Chief Information Officer, he's very forward-thinking and worked with us hand in hand to carve out this new process that now we're constantly taking in projects from our departments, and we're able to scope those based on the needs of our community, based on technical, environmental, social, even political risks, and create a list of what we're going to move forward with. So right now we have 9 projects in the pipeline. We have 30 more that we are scoping. So there's a lot of work, and it's a really exciting new process that we've carved out. One of the other pieces of this is our new website, www.smartertogethersa.com, where if you are a vendor, if you are a researcher, if you are a member of the community, you are able to go to that website and put in the inspiring project or the most impactful project that you think can make a difference. And it helps us triage that. So instead of emails getting lost or being overwhelmed with emails, now we have a formal process for intake We have a formal process of how we are evaluating projects to move forward. And now we have governance in place so that all of the shared services such as finance, IT, communications, sustainability, all have eyes on these projects from the onset so that we know that we are spending our time in the most effective manner to move projects forward that are going to drive impact. And it doesn't, spending time on the private side, you could run into the final hour before a deal is closed and then have another department come in and shut down the whole project. And we wanted to really avoid that. How do we make sure that everybody involved in the project is understanding and has this fully scoped out before we get started, and also getting the commitment from departments? If this proves successfully, do you have the budget? Do you have the capacity? And are you committed to scaling this up if we prove it to be a success? And so we've offered the seed money to seed these projects from the beginning and then pass that on to the department to ultimately take on responsibility and scale it up over time.
Man, so cool. I love it. I love it so much. And I think that there's such a good approach and a process. Vendors want to interact with cities all the time, and not every city is set up the way that you are to be able to receive, project ideas or intakes and things like that. So having a formalized process with a review attached and then the commitment from a city, like, okay, if we do pursue this project, there is an idea or a commitment to scale at some point, so that we're not just having these one-off pilots that don't necessarily go anywhere. Like if it gets picked, it's because there's an ultimate plan to see it come to fruition at scale, which is so cool.
Pilots often get a dirty word.
Yeah,
you talk to them and they're like, oh, in the back of their mind, they're like, please don't throw out the word pilot. But if there's a commitment that a pilot is going to go somewhere, then the narrative changes. This is not for nothing, but there's a real committed effort to seeing something scale. So, you got to prove yourself at the end of the day, but there is a process in place to actually scale your product. And the other piece that we're really transparent about on the website is our procurement process. What are our thresholds? How do you work with the city? How do you register as a vendor? All that is upfront and transparent so that vendors can work with us easier. We want to be a welcoming place for the best and brightest to come here and help solve our challenges.
That's wonderful, because that does solve some critical issues for vendors who have questions about all of those things and really want to find a way to navigate through the procurement process with the city, but they're not always so transparent. So I think that's a really great resource to have. And also, just to back up a little bit, huge shout out to Craig Hopkins, one of my absolute favorites. I love that he's been so hands-on with this as well, with the IT department at the city of San Antonio. They have some fabulous people working on stuff. And through my own experience of working with Craig and his team, they do phenomenal work. So the partnership between your departments, I think, is going to make for a really strong effort moving forward to getting all of this taken care of. So what are some lessons learned from this, right? Because this was a year long in the making, on top of a couple of years of starts and stops and getting projects off the ground. So from y'all's perspective, what are like the top takeaways that you got from this?
Yeah, I mean, our focus, our laser focus is how do we operationalize and institutionalize this work? As a team, this isn't really a new lesson learned, but change is hard.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable within any organization, not just a local government, but especially within government. But persistence, it's key to making things happen. Each time we've hit a roadblock, and we've hit a lot of roadblocks. We might go out there and sing praises and act like everything is, beautiful, but we've hit a number of roadblocks along the way. But we continue to have the conversations. We continue to find those who believe. And at the end of the day, we have been very successful at finding, folks that want to work with us to find a way forward. We're operating in a space that is not traditionally how government operates. There isn't, legal language around, artificial intelligence, for example. And so when you're charting out new territory and you have to protect the interests of your residents, privacy, security above all else, but you also want to be able to iterate and provide them the best in class services. It's a real balance of all of those, really important considerations to move forward. But if we do so in a thoughtful enough way, and I believe our roadmap lays out this vision, then we can stay at the forefront of what's possible within local government and make sure that we're not falling behind as a city, but we're taking advantage and investing in what's going to drive forward our economy and our future as a city.
No, that's really great stuff for sure. And yeah, I mean, it's not all change is difficult, right? In life, let's just be real, like life change sucks in your personal life or whatever, but it's made better when you have like-minded people who have a shared goal, right? That it makes it easier to weather some of these roadblocks that come up. So
I'll just also add
yeah,
another
please.
lesson learned. Community input is everything. It
Mm,
is key. It's not just a talking point. It's very difficult. You just say people centered or put out a survey or do community events. But if you don't have community buy-in, then that is the foundation upon which we work. And there are barriers to getting that buy-in. It's not always easy to go out to a town hall meeting. So what are we doing as a local government to always encourage and build feedback loops with our community so that we are truly solving for their needs? And how are we identifying underserved communities and making sure that those voices that might be underrepresented are truly taken into consideration as we are making decisions collectively? And so, it's a significant challenge. We're not there yet. I mean, we should have things like, paid childcare at community meetings, for example, is a simple one that we could institute. But there's a variety of ways that we are working to continue chipping away at to make sure that it wasn't just community input for the roadmap, but it's an ongoing conversation that we're building with our residents, and that this is not just a smart cities initiative, but it's an initiative throughout the city government. And we have a lot of incredible public servants that are doing this work throughout our departments, but it is so critical to our mission.
yeah, definitely. I mean, because if you're not engaging with the community on these projects, then who are you really building this for? And it's a lot of hubris, I think, to say that, well, the city knows best, because really the city should be led by the needs of the community. And so great work to you and other city departments as well as the city of San Antonio, who are constantly actively engaged with residents. I know that, you kind of mentioned that you are one of many cities that are kind of working on these kinds of projects and ideas and roadmaps. But if you could give a couple of examples of things that other cities should have in mind when they want to approach a similar sort of initiative, we would love to hear it.
Sure. I'd say keep it local. Continuing on the conversation that we were just talking about, it's like you don't have to become fixated on what all these other cities are doing. You don't have to just have the autonomous vehicle pilot, but really learn what makes your city unique from an operational standpoint, from a physical standpoint, from a social standpoint, and capitalize on that uniqueness. It's where being truly people-centered, having a diverse representative voice of your residents, it's critical to building the foundation of your plan. Second, I would say make sure to turn over every rock among your stakeholders. You never know where the best ideas or resources are going to come from. We have the Smart SA partnership, but we are also speaking with academic researchers across the country that specializes in some of the biggest challenge areas that we face in San Antonio. For example, we have the highest percentage of low-income residents of any of the top 25 cities in America. So we've got to bring the best resources to bear to solve for these significant challenges for our community. We're also going to be hosting a stakeholder workshop where, again, we're a team of 4. We can only get to so many people, but it doesn't mean we don't want to hear your voice. We want to make sure that the most influential organizations throughout this city have a seat at the table and are sharing their ideas for how they can get involved, how they can build capacity, how they can, provide resources that is going to help drive us collectively forward as a community. And then, third, I would just say to make sure to set up a framework for success before getting started on your journey. So, have that governance model, scope that out in advance, Map your assets. What can be leveraged? What already exists from a technology standpoint? What can you use? Where do you need to improve connectivity through your city, for example? And know how your team can drive the biggest impact in the organization. Focus on the small wins, mix in some of those moonshot projects. But what we have an advantage to do in the smart city space, going back to that operationalize, institutionalize, I really believe in that. We're a small team. Smart cities teams don't exist in every city, although I'm a staunch advocate that they should. But the only way that they're going to continue to grow within cities and become a part of just how a city operates in 2023 and beyond is to show the impact. And we can easily show that impact through iterative small wins over time and highlighting that to our senior leadership. And what I'm excited for is I believe we're going to continue to drive this impact, bring resources to our department to grow over time, and eventually there won't be a smart city. It's just this is the way cities operate today.
Couldn't agree with you more, particularly on that last statement. And thank you so much for the advice to other communities. So before we go, I just have one last question for you, which, you kind of talked about having several projects lined up and 30 in the bank. Can you share with us what your first project is going to be?
So Joyce, you'll hear it here first. Our first project is going to be an augmented reality project that we are partnering with our Parks Department. This is designed to bring children out to parks. Given the reality of the society we live in today, kids are always on their phones or tablets. This is a similar game, I would say, to like a Pokemon Go, but it's free to residents to download. It's educational. It gets them moving around the park, so staying active. And potentially, we can customize this to really focus on some of the specific goals the park department has over time. So we're excited about what it means. Again, this is one of the lowest risk projects that we've scoped. And so intentionally, it's where we're getting started because it's the first one that's going through our brand new governance process. And we want to bring everybody on board. I think it's going to be a really great, impactful, and fun project for our community to get involved. It hits on our access to public information challenge area as well as our resident engagement area for organizational impact. And then I will share one additional project that we're scoping out. It's a bit more towards the moonshot category, but it's also an exciting direction, and that's with the Smart SA partnership. We are moving towards a digital twin in the development of a digital twin for our organization. So how can we each share data that essentially creates this visual representation of the city using data from the River Authority, from CPS Energy, from the Transit Authority, from the city to drive more informed decision making and also run various scenarios about how the city is going to be impacted over time, be it from climate change or natural disaster events, et cetera, and how we can better respond or plan and build and design new ways to move around the city. So we're really excited about the direction that project's heading as well.
Well, thank you so much for for sharing that with me and our audience with City Chats with Joyce. Like, I'm blown away. I think that's going to be such a cool project with the parks. And I think if I remember my San Antonio factoids correctly, there's like 283 parks in San Antonio. So there is a lot of opportunity for people to get out and to experience, our city and, well, San Antonio and get moving and have a lot of fun. And then the digital twin thing, it just, wow, like, especially having all those Smart SA partners on board, you could build out a really fascinating model and be able to take it so many places. So thank you for sharing that, Geoffrey. Thank you for your time today. It has been fabulous. And you've got me all kinds of excited about what's coming out of San Antonio over the next year or so. Please keep us informed and hopefully we'll have you back maybe in 6 months to a year so you can share about your successes and lessons learned. Any other thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience before we go?
Just one more plug for smartertogethersa.com. Please go there. You can check out our roadmap, again, how to get involved. And we need you. Come be a part of this effort. We all need to be rowing in the same direction together to move our city to where we should be. We're a proud city, and I couldn't be more excited about the vision and the future that we have ahead of us. So, thank you for listening today. Thank you again, Joyce and Z Prime, for having me. And I hope to come back in a year and share about all of the significant progress that we're having in meeting our resident challenges. So thank you.
You are welcome anytime. Thank you so much, Geoffrey.
Thanks. Bye.